So I started the recording for documentation needs. Clara, hi. Clara joined, and in 1 minute we will be starting. In terms of time, it will still will be recorded. Clara, I don't know if you hear me, but Sofia Seita has written she will join, but a bit later on today. She's having her classes teaching, but like after teaching, she will jump in a way. So yes. Hi, Clara.
Hi. Hi, Oksana. Nice to meet you.
Hello, hi. Great to meet you too.
Okay, I will probably start. I hope I will manage it with letting people in. Clara, can I also do you as co-host? Because probably when I start my presentation, I will not see people who, like, knock to the Zoom.
Yes, you can do that, of course.
I have done it also with Oksana, but I always like a little bit, in a way, afraid that when I do share the screen, that I do not see people who are just coming here and trying to come in. So Oksana is co-host and Clara is co-host. Hi, hello everybody. So we could join. Like, nice to see you all. Hello, Thomas. I see that Anton Usanov, our colleague
Hi
from
everyone.
Kimnata, hi,
Hi.
also joined. Like, super happy to see some names and like reconnect with some people and with Sayla as well. We worked also together. So super glad that you are all here. Where we are right now. It is the second online curriculum in frames of the project Songs of Serpents. It's a partnership between several organizations across Europe, and these organizations are doing like in-person residencies, but also online meetings, which are connected to different aspects of ecofeminism, like practice and research. And we are basically now in this online part, but we are also like doing like these in-person residencies as well. And in this online part, there will be me speaking. My name is Alena Karavai and Oksana Brykhovecka speaking. I'm super happy that Oksana could make it also today. And we will do it this way, that I will be speaking like little bit more from the perspective of a practitioner, of a person who is hosting such events, and I will be telling about art projects we were witnessing in Asortymentna kimnata, and research perspective will be going like to Oksana. She will later on like share her research perspective on that. And for me, it's also important to say that I'm not a researcher. I do not have this methodology. Like, basically, my methodology or what I do, this is enabling spaces or co-shaping these spaces of community learning where new artworks can also appear. And basically what I do, or how I see myself, like my methodology is a little bit more storytelling about what I see, and I tried also like to share my assumptions with you, but this is not a researcher perspective. Let me start with Asortymentna kimnata. For some of you, many of you know it, but Asortymentna kimnata is a project space. We do such like classical things as exhibitions, residencies, and publications. But for us, it's very important to be inside the process, to be part of the artistic process, and to create community situations or community learning situations where we can exchange knowledge, where like this experimental knowledge can take place. And for example, we are less interested in making shows with already known artists and the works which were shown on other shows like 5 or 6 times. We would be like rather doing shows with works which are shown first time, or with works in process, or with artistic works which are not really looking yet like an artistic work, but probably kind of another message. And this is where we are. And like the experience I will be sharing with you, or like this knowledge I will be sharing with you now, is coming from 3 formats of our work. And I would like to share with you first these formats, where it's coming from, and then tell you about few works that I would like just to share information with you. So on this moment, I will do sharing. Yeah, it's here. Yes. So basically, number one, like the knowledge I'm sharing with you, where it's coming from Asortymentna kimnata as a group or community of artists, curators, or art interested people. Those like 80% of artists we're working with are female artists. Almost all of the artists we're working with like do have feministic perspective. Here's, for example, Anya Potemkina, who is also on this call. She's also on this video. And here you can see our Christmas photo from last year with the artists with whom we are working, collaborating very closely. And basically, this is mostly like the group which is staying like slightly changed since 5 or 6 years. Like this is the people we're working with. And like from this collaboration in smaller situational groups, we also like get some knowledge. The second format we're working with is residency. We do have this residency space, and this residency space is also participating in the project Songs of Serpents. It's called Khata-Maisternia. It is situated not like, if this space is situated in Ivano-Frankivsk, this is around 80 kilometers from Ivano-Frankivsk in mountains. And this space was founded in 2014. And it's also like not a coincidence that it was started in the year when actually Russian aggression against Ukraine has started. So it was also connected with our community or with our team. Some people in our community group network like lost their homes, and our reaction on that was to try to build a new home, which was a residency space. This is like second format we are working in. And the residencies in frames of Songs of Serpents, they are taking place partially here and partially online. And format number 3, which is also in a way very important for us, and where a lot of new topics and formats are coming from. This is something we are calling School of Contemporary Art, FRA. This is basically working as a laboratory with many peer groups where teenagers and adults are coming together, learning from each other, or where we invite practicing artists to share some experiences with them. For example, 2 weeks ago, we had the pleasure that Oksana Brichovecka was in Ivano-Frankivsk with textile practices. And often we would also invite artists who do not have like academic or teaching background, and they are creating these community learning situations. And this is also like not a coincidence that it started in 2023, 1 year after the full-scale invasion. This is when we have seen that the local audience and community changed a lot. And we had the feeling we need to do something in the direction of community learning in order also like to reload in a way this community, or to see like to work a little bit more into the future, so to say. And this laboratory is working since 2.5 years. Anya Potemkina, who is here right now, she's co-curating this school. And one of the topics which is always there is environmental art and land art. Here on this photo, you can see Natalia Lisova, who is coming to us from Kyiv, I don't know, each 6 months. like doing workshops with participants, with different groups. Natalia Lisova, as far as I know, probably I'm mistaken, she's the only one or one of the least people who is having PhD in environmental art. And she's now working also on a book where she's describing the history of environmental or land art in Ukraine. And basically her coming to us like so frequently and doing these workshops with people, we have seen it also influences a lot what we have then in the end in the exhibitions. And some of the works I'm speaking about, they were also influenced also by the fact that we are working with these workshops as well. For example, like after 2 years, Natalia was coming to us each half a year. There was an exhibition, the whole exhibition with the projects of people who worked with her. It happened to be only female artists in this exhibition, and this was exhibition about land art project, and it was called 3D in the Soil. I don't know if I can if I translate it right, but in Ukrainian it's called Toptati Zemlyu, and it's connected with pre-Christian ritual, like when you had to call or to invite the spring. You would go to a place without trees, where the grass would be growing, and you would dance there and like make the soil a little bit under pressure. You will be treading it, like stepping on it. And in a way, in Ukrainian, Toptati Zemlyu is another form to say being alive. Like meaning if you are stepping on soil, you are alive. And this was like also playing with this metaphor a bit. So yeah, this is basically this. And working a lot in laboratory formats, in community learning formats, and in residential formats. In last 3 years, after the full-scale invasion, I have seen such change of images or of metaphors which were there then in our exhibitions. And it was interesting that it was going, at least in our shows, pretty much like after years. In 2022, after like a longer urgent residency in Khata-Maisternia, there were a lot of works created where artists were addressing the soil, like directly doing a lot of works like painting or making performances about the soil. And we have done a show about that. And 1 year, or approximately 1 year later, Mistecki Arsenal would do a show which is called Heart of Earth, and which was in a way also like not following, but which was also about the same trend or about the same package of works. In 2023, we have seen that at least in our residencies and in our shows, there was a lot about the image of a tree. And we even had a show which was called Tree After Tree. And it was a time when we spoke a lot about resilience and about standing behind each other. And probably that's why like this image would be arising a lot. And in 2024, especially in our School of Contemporary Art, both from adult group and from the group of teenagers, they worked a lot with stones, and they have done like the whole exhibition about that. And this was probably also connected like also with a metaphor of coming from this resilience to also a little bit more hard feelings. I do not know yet what would be for 25, like which image would be there for 25, but this is what I have seen going on. And of course, there was and still a lot about the water as a metaphor, and not only because of Kakhovka Dam, but also before in March, in the beginning of 2023, we were doing a show Flooding, where it was actually about memory or about absent memory of Holocaust in Ivano-Frankivsk, and it was an exhibition co-authored by Nikita Kadan, Yerema Malashuk, Roman Himei, Gary Krayevets, and me. And of course, after summer 2023, after Kakhovka Dam was exploded, there was also like a flood of works about that. In the end of 2023, we were doing an exhibition. I was curating it, which was called "What Does It Mean When I Dream of Water?" And it was an exhibition especially with the works of artists who are connected with different southern regions. And this is one of the works which was shown there. It's a work of Dasha Chichishkova, where she is reflecting how the line of the beach is changing in Odessa, because Dasha is coming from Odessa. It's like a very important part of the landscape for her and the family, very important place where they also spend some time. And like this is basically this line with some stories, with some portraits, with some text where she's reflecting on this changing line. Or there is also a work of Anya Potemkina, who is here again. This is an audio work Anya has done recently in Ivano-Frankivsk. And this was an audio walk to river in Ivano-Frankivsk. And this audio walk was connected with the question, like to look into the water, like to see the future, what is expecting us, like in a way. And in this audio walk, Anya was trying also to work with like knowing and not knowing, and like what does it mean to be in this process of not knowing. And on this level, I would also have to say that really only several works of which I'm speaking were commissioned by us. For example, this work was commissioned by us, but like all of other works were like rather works which were evolving longer and in more organic way, although commissioned work are also organic works. But just to say that like we like do not work with commissioning a lot. We work like rather with like more laboratory formats. Yeah, and this is basically like telling about these metaphors. I would like to show you like 3 blocks of works, which I tried also like to classify somehow, and probably your classification would be totally different. And again, these are the works which were evolving like around Asortymentna, kimnata, and around these 3 formats I was describing. The first one is like this optics for non-human actors, and these optics which were there like were there in some of the works. This is, for example, I will open it also that you see it more. Here you see Katya Buchatska, and behind Katya Buchatska this canvas. And this was the work which she has done in frames our urgent residency working room, which was taking place from March to May 2022, like the first 3 months of the full-scale invasion. And basically then, I hope you can see springtime now, yeah? Do you see the website? Yeah, cool. And in this work, Katya was the only one from the residency. We had up to 30 people who were there in the residency and 16 artists creating some works. And Katya was the only one from them who like were thinking about non-human objects, non-human actors, sorry. And she was thinking about animals. And in this work, she's reflecting how animals are called according to different weapons, which also help, like Bayraktar, for example, and so on. And she's picking these stories from the media and is putting it on this canvas, which looks unfinished in a way. Then in the end. I'm coming back to the presentation. I hope you can see the presentation. Is it the presentation back? Yes, thank you. Yeah. And one more work, it's, for example, Work Without Title of Maria Rusinkevich, one of the artists we're working with from Ivano-Frankivsk. And Maria, 2022 again, she was working with the images of killed animals and was like painting those images with caracoil as this horse. Yeah. So basically, this is like this first block of this work. The second block would be works which are like dealing with nature as a reservoir for memory and for trauma, or like working with memory and trauma through nature. And there are a few works in there which I would like to show. I don't know if Oля Babak has joined. I do not see her, but I, for example, see here Anton Usanov, who was curating one of the exhibitions of Oля Babak. Oля Babak is an artist from Kharkiv. She moved to Ivano-Frankivsk in 2022, and we started to work with her, have done 2 shows of her and of her father, who is also an artist. And this is a work Ola created in 2024, which is called Exhale Being Longer Than Inhale. I will just show it. It's very short and I believe self-explaining. In this series, Ola has done also like this, like some series of masks. Like this was this mask out of stone, and there were also some masks which he created like from like building on a soil carcass. And when we were doing this show, like some of the objects were growing in a way. This was also like the idea of the show, that they are growing further. The next work, also connected with growing, this is a work of Dasha Chichishkova, who is a participant and part of Songs of Serpents residency. And this is her common work with Anna Nikityuk and Ksenia Sherbakova, which is called Situational Flower Beds. And basically this work now existing in few formats. Like this one format that you see is really performative or action format, where Dasha, Anya, and Ksenia are creating seed bombs, and they are doing the seed bombs in workshops together with groups of people. And while doing that, they suggest or propose to people to think about something what they would like to commemorate people who are fallen, who are not there anymore, commemorate places which are lost, commemorate events which are lost, commemorate something which will not take place, and like to dedicate these flower beds to this commemoration. So basically they are doing flower beds as monuments in a way. And this all started from a personal story when a friend of Dasha and many other artists, Artur Snitkus, he was killed in the war. And basically during his funeral, his mother said, Artur, now you are a flower bed, because on his grave there were a lot of flowers and so on, and they were there, Dasha was there, and then they started like from this sentence, they started to do it, and they started to do these flower beds. They have done pretty a lot of these actions, but this project also exists in exhibition format. This is, for example, Dasha and me, we were exhibiting this project in Chemnitz in May of this year. Clara was there, she could see it. And I was in Chemnitz 3 weeks before this project. I brought or smuggled illegally flower bomb, like seed bombs to Germany, and planted them. And this is something which grew in 3 weeks, you see there. And here Dasha is writing her dedications to whom she dedicates this flower bed. And now the project is going further. I was speaking today, Thomas, with Dasha, and she told me, like in Italy, now during the residency, she's thinking about some kind of continuation or other format of this project, like the landscape that she's seen there inspired her in a way. Probably it will exist in some other format as well. So this is basically one more thing about this memory as a nature as a reservoir for memory. And one more project is a project again of situational collective of 3 female artists coming together. They are not functioning as a collective. These are 3 different artists, but they are doing it together in this project. Oksana Pogrebenek, Zhenya Milyukos, and Anya Ivchenko. And the project is called Kurgans, Tombs, and Us. Kurgans are these funerals or tombs which are looking like that in a way, and they are very frequent to be met, especially in southern Ukraine or in central Ukraine. They're part of the landscape, and especially in places which are now occupied or closer to the front line. And Oksana, Zhenya, and Anya came together as a situational group of women who are in different migration situations, who all have migration background, but this background is different. For example, Oksana was born in Kherson. She moved as teenager to Spain with her parents because of economical reasons. And then after full-scale invasion, on the 3rd day, she came back to Ukraine and she stayed in Ukraine. Zhenya is coming from Crimea. She is in Portugal. And like all 3 have different migration situations, but they are coming together in order to visit Kurgan, where Oksana grew up, in Dnipro, like in southern Ukraine. And they're going there for 3 days. And then they do a video poetry about that. Video poetry is a 3-channel poetry about this travel to places which is almost lost. Like right now, this place is not accessible anymore because the front line moved there, basically. And when Oksana, Zhenya, and Anya were there, it was already super close to the front line, and they were sharing that if they were men, probably it would not be that easy for them to do that, because it was also area which is super close to the front line. And I will show you a small part of this 3-channel video, and we were showing it in Asortymentna kimnata in September. And we also built together with Oksana, Zhenya, and Anya such kind of kurgan. All of 3 of them came to Ivano-Frankivsk, and we were building this construction for 1 week from different materials, and we're showing it inside this construction. I will show you 2 minutes from this 3-channel video. You will see all 3 screens just to make an idea of what it is. Yeah, this is how it looked inside. And now I will go to one particular moment. I hope it will work.
Наче торкаєшся землю, але наче ні.
У мене є ще один вид, якщо хочете, побігати кожній буду.
Це ти знайшла?
Ні, я привезла.
А, ти привезла з собою?
Yeah, and this moment is also interesting because I was asking them afterwards if it was planned. Like those of you who understand Ukrainian, you hear them saying, like, did you found like these materials? And she said, like, no, I brought it with me. And in a way, they are showing also like the actions which were not planned. Like they said, like being there on this landscape, they started also to do some kind of actions. And this is like for me, it was also interesting in a way because I like in a way have seen it or was asking myself, is it the process of healing like this landscape or what they are doing there? So it's interesting. And the whole scene, it's like 20 minutes video, 22. It ends also with singing and also some sound design. So basically it starts as a movie story. It goes like in this process of coming into connection with this landscape, and then in the end it dissolves just in singing and in blackness, in nothing. So in the end, so this is the work. Yeah. And like this was this part about nature as a reservoir for memory. And also in this part, I would also see like works which are connected as nature as a reservoir for imagination, because people say that memory and imagination, they have similar patterns in our brain. So how memory and imaginations are working. So it's not only thinking back, but also thinking forward. And here would be a project which is work in progress by Sophie Seita, who is our resident from Songs of Serpents. I don't know if Sophie has already joined us, but what Sophie has done so far, and it is, as I said, work in progress. Sophie could not come to Khata-Maisternia, but then we thought, okay, what would be traveling without traveling? Like how traveling could take place without physical body, be traveling to a landscape. And me and Sophie, we were exchanging different like pictures of the landscapes. She was working also with the map of the landscape. She was working with the history of a place where Khata-Maisternia is situated. And she came across of some patterns, and she was trying to draw them in these letters. And she came across of the figure of Paraska Plitka Horetsvit, female artist who was like basically from the region. And Sophie was writing us letters each day during her residency. This is letter number 1. We have 22 letters of Sophie where she is addressing Paraska and also doing some drawings and asking her different questions. For example, here she's asking, dear Paraska, every place is a fiction or not? And why I'm telling that this work is in progress, that in January we would like to make a reading of those letters, to invite also our community to Asortymentna kimnata, to read all of those letters like loud, and to see whether we would like to answer them to Sophie, like to see what's going on there. So this is the first out of these letters, where she's also like asking about these patterns that she's seen in the works of Paraska, and as Sophie thinks also on the maps or in the landscape. And this is the last block, is nature as a lost land. I would not be calling it lost paradise, but nature as something which is showing to us that something that we people have lost, and where nature will be preserved, but probably without us in a way. Yeah. And this is one of the works This is a work by Clementina Quint and Olga Babak, the work which is called What Do We Know About Birds If the Rustle of Their Wings Did Not Touch Our Silence? And this is again tandem work of two female artists who are not collective, but they are coming together in this work. Clementina is now serving in army. She's drone operator, but she's ornithologist from her education. And Oля Babak, we have seen her work before. This is Oля Babak from Kharkiv. And they're coming together and they figure out that Oля Babak has done recently this art book about birds. And Clementina Quint is trying to record sound of birds where she is on the front line. And she's having this audio work when she's trying to grasp the bird sounds and she's commenting on it. She's telling, this is like this bird or these birds, but like you as a listener can hardly recognize it because the explosions would like bother you recognizing it. And this is like, I will, like this work is also available, like sound is also available on SoundCloud. I will send it to you and you can also listen to it. So it's a short sound there. And one more and final work that I would like to tell you about is the work Waterproof by Katya Buchatska. This is a work which was commissioned by us and we were like developing it together. We have shown it in Asortymentna kimnata in 2025. And it's interesting that I'm starting with Katya Buchatska and finishing with Katya Buchatska, like this presentation. This is basically a trailer of a not existing computer game about a woman in post-apocalyptic world, and she's trying to find her way. This woman is pregnant, and it's very much connected also with fluids, with water, because you always see this fluids level, like, and she has three basic needs: to cry, like to pee, and to drink. And basically you would see it there, like on the screen, and we will see now like 1 minute of this work. Yes. And this work was also, in a way, also reaction of Kakhovka explosion and a little bit autobiographic, because like Katya is mother since 1 week, and in the moment when she was doing this work, she was pregnant, and it was like also this combination of things.
Сірко! Сірко!
Yeah, and it goes further. Like there are some other simulations of the things which are going on there, and like in the end, I would only like give like, I don't know, it's not a recommendation. It's something which is also on my reading list right now. It's like recent book of Daria Cymbaluk. It's also available on Amazon about ecocide in Ukraine. Yes, probably if you wanna like get to know more in terms of factage, probably it would be good to like, this would be one of the sources. So this is so far I wanted to share with you, and I would propose that if you're okay with that, we would proceed with Oksana's presentation and then come to the questions. So if you have any questions also to me, you can write them in chat, but so that we do not break the flow, I would give over to Oksana. Please.
Thank you, Alona. Hello, everyone. Maybe I'll introduce myself, right? So my name is Oksana Brykhovecka. I'm also an artist and a curator, and I also write about art. And so kind of researcher, but I will not present a research today. So Alona, you was not maybe very correct, because I didn't have actually much time to prepare for this lecture. And also I think like there are many artists who work with these topics of ecofeminism, ecocide in your group. So I can learn from you, and I now learn from Alona's presentations about many interesting works. But what I will propose to you, I will go a little bit to the theory, if you don't mind, and trying to combine some theoretical points with images of I choose nine Ukrainian women artists. So they are pretty known, so you will recognize images, I think. But for me, it is interesting to think about interpretation of artworks through theory, and probably looking how they can align, even if artists themselves, for example, didn't made any particular reference to the theory. But I will go to share my presentation. I will start with kind of first with the introduction. So I will talk about post-human feminist theory and feminism with the examples of Ukrainian artists. And like to start with, of course, we are talking about from Ukraine, and of course, from this time from what time, and if we address the topic of nature, of ecology, so all Ukrainians and like all over the world, people all over the world, like recognize that the war is a devastation, not only for people. First of all, we think about killing people, infrastructure, destructing cities, so the destruction of something that was built by people for life, but also this is destruction of life itself, of nature. And in Ukrainian history, we also had Chernobyl, of course. Probably you talk about this. It also was a huge ecological catastrophe, and we live with memory of it for generations. But why also what can be connected with these disasters? Also talking about Ukrainian land, which is also known that this land is very fertile. So we have this name for it, Chernozem, yes, so like black earth. So it's very fertile, very good land. And this is one of the reasons of colonization, actually, of Ukraine, which is this constant attempts from Russia, from other parts, like in the history, to take this land, to take over this land, because it's so good. And for example, Bogdan Kravchenko, he's a Canadian-Ukrainian historian and economy historian, and recently he published recently was presentation of his book in Kyiv on economical history of Ukraine. And in private conversation with him after the presentation, we also turn to this question of decolonization, colonization, the history, because it's kind of very new topic, articulated like in the public space about Ukraine in the context of Russian war. And Bogdan Krashenko said, like, if you want to have a proofs of colonization, of the history of why Ukraine was colonized, and look at the history of economics, like, because the resources that Ukraine has the land, it was always like this is like the history of economics will show you this extraction, the history of extraction, the history of colonization, and of course the Soviet time during Soviet industrialization and so on. And of course, I mentioned Chernobyl already, but like one of the biggest tragedies and catastrophes caused by Russian war in Ukraine is, of course, the destruction of Kakhovka Dam, and many artists already addressed this event. I'm sorry for this sound, but it will disappear now, hopefully. So, and here you see images, a few images by Yana Kononova from her project, Desperation of Landscape. I will read short quote from her website. So she started making these collages. It's actually a photo collage. After this catastrophe, she traveled to Zaporizhia region, and in these works, she merged elements of illusion and documentary. So in her, she said that this is an artistic exploration of environmental consequences of Russian war in Ukraine, and it develops a spatial imagery of war-affected landscapes, situating them within the visual tradition of catastrophe depiction, as well as within Ukraine's industrial and geological history. And the focus is on the alienation and affectivity inherent in the relationships between humans and the technical world, marked by relentless violence. The work explores how spatial representation can convey encounters beyond the human realm, extending to non-human affect. Within the techno-geographic milieu, desperation is no longer confined solely to human experience. Let me, oh yes, I can move my slide. Also, another, like from this series, Pilgrimage, also you see like the landscape within Kakhovka Dam. And another project that I wanted to share, and I think Sofia Yusupova is in the group. I saw the name. Is Sofia, are you here?
Yes, Sophia is here. Yeah.
Probably if you are here, maybe you can say a few words about this work, so it will be more relevant than I'm telling, if you don't mind. Is Sophia hearing me or?
It looks like it, but I'm not sure.
But this is Sophia Yusupova, right? The author of this work. So I found about this work and found out that Sophia, in collaboration with a scientist, artist, look at vegetation data of the region and develop an algorithm for processing data gathered from the crops monitoring satellite. And she creates these maps using the special machine that she created by herself. So like to also these projects in terms of interdisciplinary collaboration between scientists and artists is also interesting. And these two projects that I showed you, they are kind of drawn on documentary, on documenting things, even through artistic exploration. But now I will go a little bit, as I said, to the theory and propose you a close reading of text by Rosie Braidotti, who is a contemporary philosopher and feminist theoretician. Her text was Human Feminist Theory, and I just want to ask who is familiar with this text.
Nee, nicht
Other
jetzt
people,
nicht.
sorry.
I think it
So,
was like, yeah.
So probably some of you are familiar with this text, so then I invite you later maybe for reflections. And it's published in this book that you see in the screen, the Oxford Handbook of Feminist Theory. And while I will go through the text, through the some points in this text, you will see the illustrations by Ukrainian women artists on the side, and they're not really illustrations. It was like my mistake saying this, because my intention was not to just illustrate theory, but to do the opposite kind of theory, to follow artworks. Even if these artworks didn't work, if these artists didn't address some theoretical texts while creating this imagery, but it is interesting how they align with the ideas, with philosophical ideas. And I will not explain a lot artworks. Most of them are kind of images, so there are no like sound works or performances, but you will feel probably some connection. And this, for me, it's interesting exercise also in interpreting art, because sometimes artists, they maybe have some ideas when they do something, but people who perceive art, they can also contribute to interpretation of the works. Okay, let's go ahead. But okay, so what is what is post-human feminist theory? It's emerged actually from two directions of thoughts, which were starting from the second wave of feminism in the 60s, 70s, and then developing later. And these two directions were anti-humanism and anti-anthropocentrism. So what does it mean? So, the second wave of feminists contributed a lot to the critique of humanism as such within the wider field of critical theory. And later on, based on this, emerged a scholarship on post-human theory. So, but we need to talk about anti-humanism. We should remind what is humanism actually. So the humanism is a philosophical is a philosophy that emerged in Europe. It starting from Renaissance, but then developing during Enlightenment, which centered a human being, a man, in the center of kind of its philosophical framework. So the humanism believed in the absolute agency of human beings, of rejecting kind of supernatural creatures, which if you look at the other cultures, like before, like in different civilizations, like the superhuman, the supernatural was very important, and within the religion as well. But humanism is like basically very materialist way of thinking, centering the human and believing that people have a rational mind, and they can, using this mind, build their lives, build society, and also science. All science was developed also, scientific approach, on contrary to kind of religious or superstition or beliefs. Science was also developed based on humanist philosophy. But why this critique came? So what critique was about? So for example, it was a critique about this humanist ideal of man as a universal representation of the human. Because as we will talk also, we also know, like from the history that, for example, women comparing to men were oppressed. They were considered like other. So this when we see in English, you know, this word man, it's mean like human being, which, for example, in Ukrainian language we don't have this. We have man and woman, and man is not a human being. We have людина, we have our other word, but in English, man actually it's a kind of man. And the all agency, it was of human being, it was mostly male agency. Also, there was a critique of this idea of universalism, that some human experience that belong to European men can be considered as universal, because in fact, there are many different cultures, societies, many different people, and they have different experiences which differ probably from this. But it's always, when we think about universalism, we take example of someone, but who is this one? Of course, critique of hierarchism, criticize species hierarchy and calls for ecological justice. And again, this humanism, it was like putting man, like human being, not only in the center, but on the top. Like it was considered like the higher level of evolution, of development, and therefore other species were considered like lower level, and that's why they can be exploited, they can be neglected. And actually, if we talk about feminism, first feminist theory in the 20th century, feminism. For example, Rosie Braidotti mentioned Simone de Beauvoir in her work Second Sex, and also some many anti-colonial thinkers, they try to claim that, so what Simone de Beauvoir tried to claim, that woman, she has the same agency, is also like as a man. So trying to consider female figure and saying that woman liberation is a human liberation. You probably all heard such words. And of course, critiquing the masculinist universalism, as I said. Sulamith Firestone, in her work, The Dialectic of Sex, in the 1970s, she engaged already with ecology and environmentalism, arguing to the need of the radically different approach to our connection with nature and also for animal rights. So anti-humanism developed in the 80s and also was connected with feminism, decolonization, anti-racism, anti-nuclear, and environmental movements. Okay, so yes, and again, as I said, the critique of humanism emerged with recognizing that European superiority was based on the ideas of the moral power of human reason. But we can see like what followed this so-called human reason. It was a colonization. It was always oppression of different groups, including women. And also this was exploitation of the nature and non-human species. So so there was conclusion that humanism as ideology led to these asymmetrical power relationships. And as a result, some people, as well as plants and animals, were reduced to less than human stance and became disposable bodies. So in this enlightenment-based rationality and this idea of progress based on science were also criticized by post-structuralists. And Michel Foucault, for example, he announced this idea of death of man. And Lucy Irigaray, also another feminist philosopher, she pointed out that this abstract ideal man is actually, he is actually white, European, handsome and able-bodied. And it means like exclusion of other different theory itself, this post-human turn. So post-human is something that came, some new ideas that came after critique of humanism, of this traditional humanism, European, and it came in the 90s. And at this time, like it was also awareness of the climate change, of impact of Anthropocene. So this is kind of the idea that the human activities having world-changing effects, and it's changed our planet, it changed nature, and also with this came the need to redefine old binary oppositions like nature, culture, human, non-human. And you see images of Katerina Svenko. You probably know these images, they are very famous. And for me, it's interesting, like, while reading theory, like istic works, some of these ideas kind of relate. For example, here you see kind of a, like thinking about culture and nature. So you see kind of some cultural space, yeah? So it's kind of space organized, maybe near the school, you see this road and this woman who assists children, but some like animalistic motifs when which are very, very often present in Katya's works, they are present. And it's very interesting, like I think intuition and way of thinking. For example, here we also see some kind of cultural space. It's kind of human built environment in the train probably, but the figures, the creatures here, they kind of mutate, so they are some of not really animals. And also other her works, they present like if we see before like more like cultural environment and natural creatures within this, here we see kind of natural environment. Some she makes a lot of works with kind of idea of imagery of embryons, with something like developing organisms which can be non-human, but as well they very like looks like human. So it's kind of a mixture. And this, I think, this is kind of the way of visual thinking that artist develops, probably not like, I don't know if she referred to the theory or not, but it's very interesting that also that she creates these works in the time of catastrophe and war in Ukraine. And another work is also we see kind of natural environment, kind of landscape, and strange like figures mixed like with animals and with humans elements. Then going ahead, we have like from the beginning of new millennium, ecofeminism that developed even more, go even further. So it's a geocentric perspective. Animal studies start to develop, and it's starting from the 90s, and it's even interesting that it's kind of animal studies, you know, so that the animal got a place within other, like for example, we had like women and gender studies or like other studies, and so the animal studies and what animal studies question, they question the metaphorical use and abuse of animals in literature and culture, but also their economic and physical exploitation. Also, there were analogy seen between exploitation of human females and other species, calling for liberation from capitalist male aggression. And with this follows the call for absolute species equality. And this is unimaginable within the humanistic tradition, because in humanist tradition, like man, the human being is always on the top of the hierarchy, because it has a mind, reason, and all this like science and other species as well. But here we have like this very new, very different way of thinking, of philosophy, like about equality. And the work here you see on the side by Vlada Rauko from Kiev Diary, it's also, she starts working on it already after Maidan revolution and after the beginning of Russian war in eastern Ukraine. So there is a big series of works in which she reflects kind of violence in different forms, but very often using corporal metaphors. But I like this work very much because for me here, like the female figure and the land, they kind of one. So this is really like this woman body represent land and landscape. I suppose it's a kind of Ukrainian landscape with a full moon, and it's also thought through feminist female way of thinking. And also I think it's about extraction as well, about this fertile feeding land. And other works by Vlada Ralko, when she also creating kind of landscapes, series of landscapes, it called surface. So the surface of the land, it looks like surface of body, of human body. So we see kind of bloody colors. We see it's fragmented, so it can be, it's resemble maybe wounds, like body wounds of some body surface. Okay, we go ahead. Again, Polina Sherbina, The Tree of Great Hate. We see this is a new work. I just read an article about exhibition when this work was presented, and here we see also like female figure merged with the tree. And then the similar motifs we see in Oля Yeremeyeva works, when kind of human and non-human, human and plants kind of mix together. It's kind of, it shares similar fate, let's say. And also this all happens during the war. So I would say that Ukrainian artists, Ukrainian female artists we are now talking about, they're thinking also this ecological, this post-humanism ideas in the context of war, of tragedy, of disaster, even of higher level than just climate change or whatever. For example, also works of Sana Shahmuradova-Tanska. This is two pieces from the series Rupture. So this year there is 10 works in total, and I think she didn't exhibit them yet in Ukraine. But I wrote text about these works when I met her in his studio. I can read you a quote from our conversation. So Sana Shahmuradova, she says, for example, so she embraces the notion of the body as a political entity, and she believes that the body cannot be thought of apart from the political, just as every plant in the field is political, since grain or harvest can be seized by power or destroyed by war, and thus at any moment swept into the vortex of political. So on one hand, she like goes on these mythological like depictions, kind of abstract figures merged again with natural forms, with the trees, or the bodies, like hands, for example, they extend to some forms that remind us trees, or from the trees there emerge some fruits like that remind human forms. But all this is somehow connected with the idea of political, of destruction, of genocide, of war. And then Rosie Braidotti mentioned in her text also Achille Mbembe, who is historian and political theorist, and his book called Necropolitics, in which he analyzed, and I think it's kind of relevant for us, especially, he analyzed these modern societies and modern world that based on technological development, they always like this create, as he said, governmentality that enhance wars, militarization, inequality, terror, and also rise of racist and fascist forces. And I illustrated it with the works by Katerina Linik. You all, I think, know these works. Again, they depict us this abuse of war of the land of Ukrainian garden. And this says, and I will read you a few quotes from this text. So this is a question, the even philosophical, theoretical questions that Achille Mbembe proposed to consider. So the ultimate expression of sovereignty resides to a large degree in the power and the capacity to dictate who may live and who must die. Hence, to kill or to allow to live constitute the limits of sovereignty, its fundamental attributes. To exercise sovereignty is to exercise control over mortality and to define life as the deployment and the manifestation of power. But under what practical conditions is the right to kill, to allow to live, or to expose to death exercised? Who is the subject of this right? And then war, after all, is as much as a means of achieving sovereignty as a way of exercising the right to kill. Imagining politics as a form of war, we must ask, what place is given to life, death, and the human body, in particular the wounded or stained body? How are they inscribed in the order of power? And again, here we see the works of Ola Yeremeyeva when these trees, these plants, they kind of one thing with this, they possess these elements of human bodies. And we see blood, so it's probably wounded bodies. And then again, Ola Yeremeyeva, and you see this kind of fallen tree, dead tree, which merge into one with probably dead body. And I just want to turn on the light, sorry. Thank you. And then I going back to the text of to the ideas of Rosie Braidotti and to the ideas of ecofeminism and post-feminism. There are a lot of also critique of global economy, of capitalism, and I will read you a quote from Rosie Braidotti on it. So she says that the contemporary global economy involves intervention upon animals, seeds, cells, and plants, as well as humans. In substance, advanced capitalism both invests and profits from the scientific and economic control and the commodification of all that lives. This context produces a paradoxical and rather opportunistic form of post-anthropocentrism on the part of market forces, which happily trade the lie on life itself. Life, as it happens, is not the exclusive prerogative of humans. And also from these ideas, like, and after 2010, emerged this call for absolute species equality, which is one of the parts of ecofeminist agenda. And also, since the 70s, feminist writers and literary theorists and also authors of science fiction, for example, Yulia Kristeva, Barr, Donna Haraway, has supported the alliance between women as the other of men and such other others as non-white people, post-colonial, Black, indigenous, hybrid subjects, and also non-humans, animals, insects, plants, trees, even bacteria. So, and with this came a call to refuse to turn life, which Rosie Braidotti calls also Zoe, like life, that is to say human and non-human, intelligent matter, not to turn it into commodity for trade and profit. And also, what I have next, I have also interesting example of artwork. It's recent work by Dana Kavelina. It's actually work in progress, but I saw this video in Warsaw recently. She creates this video. So what has happened is what is going on there is in war in Ukraine during the war. The soldier is a wounded soldier, he is lost, and also the parallel story is about cow who is also lost in the landscape. And so they are wandering and they are meeting each other. And in this film, Dana gives the same agency, the equal agency to this cow and to this man. So these are two equal characters. And so from the descriptions of the work, it said that it follows the exhausted bodies wandering through the Ukrainian landscape, one a soldier and other a dairy cow, both lost. The soil is another character in the film, wounded, exploited as a resource, but still holding the bodies straight and giving them ground. So I think this also, even this film focused first of all on the human being, on the war, but as I said, like this species equality, the idea of species equality, the idea of violence, the equal violence on humans and on animals and on nature. This is pretty strong here. And okay, what we have is time. And to finish on more, maybe not optimistic, but rather actually following Rosie Braidotti texts, she has also this chapter on sexuality, on new ideas of sexuality beyond gender. And so the idea that that sexuality possess something which can cross the many boundaries built by culture, even like identity, because we talk a lot about like different gender identities, but she believes that returning sexuality to its polymorphous state, playful and non-reproductive state, in opposition to binary positions and heterosexual reproductive sex, make it a force that capable of deteriorizing gender identity and institutions. And it must be disengaged from both identity issues and all dualistic oppositions. So feminist post-human politics is an experiment with the intensities beyond binaries and trying to finding out what post-human body can do. But and also she believes that traditional heterosexual family formation steals all other possible bodies from us. But the important conclusion is that the experiments with what sexed bodies can do, however, doesn't mean that traditional power relationships have been resolved. And she says, I have argued forcefully that the post-human is not post-political. So that's all from my side, and thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. I was trying like to look a little bit more in detail into the last slide. Thank you, Oksana. Thank you, everybody, for very attentive listening. And if you have questions.
Yeah, and I also want to say that if anyone interested in this text, I can share it, and you can read more closely to this text.
Yes, yes, please share. Feel free to share, because I have seen few people nodding, at least, and there are some people whom I don't see in cameras. Yeah, so like sharing the text is a nice idea. Please, like your questions, or probably also like impressions, not questions, you want to share something, or you have remembered about some other works you would like to share. Like we could be doing this sharing circle about the works.
Or maybe comments, any comments that you have from what you like heard.
I just want to say thank you so much for this talk, because also it was a fabulous overview of artworks that I've actually didn't know about, and of course know a bit of know Braidotti and other theorists, but to really connect it then to the artworks that you've shown, that was really, really nice. And so thank you very much also, Alona, to connect it then with what you do at the residency, and as a comment also to understand the metaphors, how it's shifting with the war. And because I also remember from the Ukrainian artists that we host at the Khata-Maisternia, and the image from Sonia or Sofia Isupova was actually at the Khata-Maisternia from a symposium we did in the Mensch Machine Human Machine program, the map. And yeah, so I hear this from a lot of Ukrainian artists, but also others that it's in the phase of like polycrisis, but specifically war, ecofeminist research and also art becomes like has a totally new meaning as another urgency. And so I would also close my comment now with a question back to you. If you could like wrap this up briefly once more to understand if you would say there was art and ecofeminism before the war and now during the war, what is the main differences for you, and what do you think? Where is art going in the future with these theories?
Mhm.
Is it question for both of us, right?
Yeah, I'm just thinking if you can start. Yeah. Mhm.
Mhm.
I can start with, yeah, I'm just thinking about it.
So I would say like it's interesting phenomenon that during the war, especially after full-scale war started, the landscape and these reflections on nature and trying to express like these disasters, even like human feelings through the nature, it became so strong. So like the landscape now in Ukrainian contemporary art is the most most hot topic, and many artists they explore like similar approaches, but they so sometimes even like you cannot distinguish, and it was not the case before. So it's, if we talk about difference, I would say like in Ukrainian art before war we saw more like social like critical agenda, about society, about different about body. There were a lot of but still more like talking in the language of today lecture, like about human issue, yes, and society, issue of society. And I don't think that it was there were of course some also films about, because as I said, in Ukraine we had Chernobyl, for example, so there were many more in film and researches about the consequences of this disaster. Maybe not so much in visual art, but in documentary, in like different hybrid media, it was. So yes, it's interesting shift, and also like as for me, what I also observed that the nature is became kind of a substitute for human, because as you see, like the artists they merged, so they express like suffering of the human body through the suffering of nature. So it's kind of interesting thinking, maybe because not to go to very naturalistic, because it's very what not to do what photography does, right? So like photography, you can document like wounded bodies, dead bodies, but it's very like graphic images, very direct representation, and it's not always ethical, like to depict, like to show this. So the nature helps like to go on this more metaphorical level on one hand and expressing like human suffering, but on the other hand it also goes with a reflection on ecocide and on violence against land and nature. So it's really, yeah, so I see this difference. And what was the other question, or it was only this one?
Where it goes in future, like where it will be evolving, like what, yeah, as far as I understood, what are the upcoming topics or formats, probably, like.
It's difficult for me to
Yeah,
predict. But
I
maybe I
could
look.
start. Sorry. Sorry.
Alena,
Yeah. I could start answering the previous question, and probably if you have, Oksana, like some thoughts about like the next question, then you can share if it's okay for you.
yeah, sure.
Like I don't know, like I believe like my perspective is a little bit like more specific or narrow on that, but what I'm thinking about when I'm thinking about ecofeminism and like also work with like related topics before the full-scale invasion, especially like in Ivano-Frankivsk and in Ivano-Frankivsk region, I have to think about two things then. The first scene that we have already like an internal joke, which is not joke, which is like we were speaking about like who can be regarded as Ivano-Frankivsk artist, because it's a place where people migrate through it. And it's basically, of course, not a person who is born there and so on. And so many artists who stayed in this place, in this region for some time, they had works with the river there. And then, like, as I said, we had this internal joke that Ivano-Frankivsk artist is a person who has ever done a work with this local river, Bystryca. And for example, the work of Anya Potemkina, this audio walk, like about the future, is also connected to this Bystryca place. And like artists, like male and female artists, used to work a lot with this river, and it was in a way as claiming the space for you. And this was also like in a way a political gesture, like working with nature or working with the space as finding a place for you or finding a space for you. And this is the first thing I'm thinking about, this like this meaning that it had and still has. And the second thing I'm thinking about the archive of video art and video works, what we're working on right now. Anya Potemkina, Oksana Pogrebennik has started it, and it's continuing. And when I think about video works of female artists, female feminist queer, it's slash female feminist queer artists from this archive, and the nature and like this identification with nature is very strong there, but it's very strong from one particular moment. It gets strong when these female slash feministic slash queer artists are starting to be community. On this moment, they in a way refer to nature. There are a lot of work where once again, like artist, for example, Zoriana Kozak, she's going through a landscape. It's a work from 19, I believe. Like she's going through landscape in a mask. You cannot see her, and she's searching something in the landscape, and she's searching her artistic method in a way. She starts to work with pottery, and she's searching something in the earth as well. But at least like in this local archive, what I see like this, like referring to the topics of nature or identifying with it starts on the moment when female feminist queer artists start to work together, collaborate, like when the community is there. And this is basically probably also visible in the collection of works I was showing, because many of those works are collaborative works, like works of 2 or 3 artists who are not permanent collective, but who are coming together to claim this space. It's again claiming the space for you. It's like claiming natural space for you. This is probably it, what like before the full-scale invasion, working with topics. And right now, where it's going, like I don't know. It's like the answer would be also pretty much influenced by my sphere of interests, because like currently I'm working like more with the topic of death, like post-apocalyptic scenes and so on. And this is what I also see a lot in these works, because like the ecofeminist artworks imagining this place without people, and yeah. This, I would say, this is where it's going, but it's very much influenced by my sphere of interest or sphere of concern. Yeah. But it's also, in a way, like interesting and liberating also, like to imagine this space that it could be functioning pretty well without humans and with non-human actors, and probably even better. Probably I would invite shortly, because we started with that, because Seila is here, and Seila is our colleague who visited us a lot also in Ukraine. And I know that Seila is working on ongoing work about Dnipro River. And probably, I don't know if Seila, you feel like sharing it, because Oksana also asked you like in this small talk before we started the presentation. And probably it's also a nice moment to share it. What are you working on?
Yes, please.
If you feel like, yeah.
I'm gonna try to improvise.
Improvise.
But yeah, I was thinking about it, and also I have a question that I will ask afterwards. But yeah, the project Dnipro River Ecosocial Belonging in Wartime started from having experience in 2022 already there in Ukraine. I was in Kiev, and I went there to support my networks of friends who are artists. And then I started to feel after like living attacks in the night to actually go to breathe at the river. So I've been working with water before in projects and so on. It's mainly like the practice I've been doing for years, but in this case, it was so powerful connection that I actually like responded by creating this space that I didn't know if people had the same thing. So it took years afterwards to realize, because it is not so easy to go as a European to Ukraine, and I am trying all my best to kind of continue like developing support and work from there. But like yeah, this project began to be this very intimate relationship with the river, and thinking about offering spaces to others to rethink about the river, but also through embodied learning and being together in a kind of more poetico-political engagements in different areas of the river Dnipro in Kiev. So this was the first attempt into trying to understand whether it was important or not for local people, for Ukrainians. And then I realized it was much more. I was starting to notice like how these places were both like this connection of health in a way, this mental health that somehow is connected with this interdependency of humans with non-humans, and particularly with bodies of water, how the body of our own body is water, and how it resonates with all the bombing and all these like all these sounds, and how does it feel in the river. And actually this week I gave a talk, like a performative talk at the university in Cottbus about it, and I did a kind of performance that was very relational about bringing information about historical elements, but also about like quotes from all these encounters about it, trying to go a little bit deeper into this interdependency of, yeah, more than humans and humans, and how to find ways from artistic perspective to find ways to go a bit deeper into politics, let's say, and try to create these relationships, and try to also bring this even interconnectiveness of the ecosystem of Ukraine from with abroad, you know, from like you see from Europe as well. So yeah, there are different things from both as an artist and researcher that I am very interested in, and I think it really combines both as well with this project that I am developing, and is much more intimate. It's called The War Didn't Come to Me, I Came to It. So it's basically like showing and reflecting this status of privilege of having going to a war, and but then being able to leave. So yeah, these are notes from that, but it is also reflecting a lot about oppression and aggression, and ecofeminism is an essential pillar on the work I do for years. And I was thinking as well in terms of, I don't know if I explained it well. I did it, you know, like as fast as possible for not taking so much time. But I was thinking as well about ecofeminism, if there are any thinkers who have been actually like reflecting in ecofeminism from the kind of more Ukrainian perspective, because I can see there is a lot of interest into these authors who are more, let's say, of course, from like the US or different contexts in there. But like, yeah, I was just thinking, like, apart from the book that Alona was showing to us, like as well, if there are any more writers or different disciplinary kind of approaches from women researchers who are tackling ecofeminism as well. And yeah, I send it back. Or if you have any questions as well, I am here. I don't know if I did it correctly, but yeah, I can share also the link of the project as well if you like.
Yes, please. I actually haven't read even this book by Cymbaluk, right? It's new, right? I need to go and read. And I think like there are many things going on now, but I cannot answer, right away, because it's still, the awareness of all this catastrophe, along with like people dying. It's do you know, Alona, like some book or some work was published, maybe not yet, but
But
we
probably not yet.
expect it.
Probably people are working because there are few people who could be writing it currently, but like published this book not yet. Yeah.
But what I also wanted to share, it was from my conversation with my colleague, Lesa Kulczynska. We also was thinking about making something about like kind of research about Dnieper River, like in context of, because like in Ukraine, this idea of decommunization was very popular like recent decades, and now we're talking more on decolonization. But as I started my lecture from, so what kind of proof, like how can we on some examples like consider this, and Dnieper River and also this Kakhovka Dam, it's a good example of thinking about how actually this river was colonized and was how many interventions. So if you read like even in Wikipedia the article about Dnieper River, so its water course, it's mostly doesn't have natural flow. It's all built, like there were also other dams, and even if this dam was built, it's always, so even building this dam was a disaster. It's ecological disasters because it was like all like this near Kiev, this водосховище, how to say. So the changing of water course of the river was, and this was also during Soviet times, was a huge intervention into the natural resources like this. And while this dam was built at the time, in the 50s, in the Soviet time, it was already this idea of possibility to use it in the military situation, like to make this, for example, because it was a time of Cold War, like the beginning of the Cold War. So this idea that we can use it in the future as a weapon, yeah, like exploding it. So it was kind of from the beginning was there, and now Russians, they actually performed it. So this is also interesting to think. So it's a kind of an intersection, not only about ecology, but it's also connected to the history, to economics, to all this, and also like to reconsider in the past. And yeah, it's just maybe not the answer, but just my comment.
Thank you. And Anya Potemkina has also suggested to Svetlana Matvienko to take a look into her direction. Anya is a co-founder of Asortymentna Kimnata and also my colleague in many projects. Thank you, Seila, for sharing the website. Thank you. Are there any other comments, impressions, questions?
I have a couple of questions about the history of your projects. So you said, Alona, that Khata-Maisternia, so the residency was founded in 2014. Was it the first step of this network of artists, and then came Asortymentna Kimnata and Fra, or Asortymentna Kimnata was already there and as a gallery in Ivano-Frankivsk, and then was linked to Khata-Maisternia? So like chronologically, to understand better how it developed in the time.
Khata was the first one, like the house in Carpathians,
Okay.
like it was the first, and Asortymentna came like something 3-4 years later on, and other things also were coming in 3 years written. Like we have this 3 or 4 years written when something new is coming.
Okay, so you started with like the residency to host artists there, and then it came like the necessity to open also a public space like for exhibitions, or did you have already like spaces in which the artists could exhibit?
Like we basically started even with the need to have a place for us. Like it was also a need to have a place, like I would not say like shelter directly, like, but so as I said, like people in our community lost their like homes, and we said, okay, it's nice, probably like not nice, but probably it's high time like to work on this dream to have a common like collective house in mountains together. And this basically 14 people came together and they were working on that. And then from very beginning it was the idea, okay, it's not only the place where we are coming from time to time or our friends, it will be a place where we have artistic residences. We had interest in that. Our friend is a photographer, he wanted to have photo residences and he has done photo residences there and so on. But like the first thing, it was a place for us and we were doing it as a place for us, and then but started hosting other people as well, like pretty fast. And then Asortymentna kimnata came like after 4 years, also as a place to work with the local context, but also like to exhibit or to show something what is going on in Khata-Maisternia. Yeah. But this physical place came later on. And actually, like it's also in a way interesting because we are working approximately since 2008. And since 2008 to 2014, our strategy was to work in a nomadic format, not to work with physical places. We were all over Ukraine. We thought like we even really struggled a lot to have the first small office for bookkeeping, you know, for the for documents. Like it was like a big step for us to have it. And our first small office was in Donetsk, and it was like super in a way only for papers because we had already many projects and somewhere should be papers. And we had this strategy, so we are nomadic, we come somewhere, we are hosted by some people, but actually we do not know, like we do not need a place, we do not need to settle down. And this came with the start of Russian aggression. Like we thought, okay, now we probably need to settle down, we need a place somewhere. Otherwise, we would be probably like till now work like that. And Asortymentna kimnata had 1 year when we were between two spaces and we're working in nomadic format. Also, we were then like Anya Potemkina was doing a lot of the project. Like we were 1 year without a place, and it's also working in a way. And I miss this time sometimes, like not to have too many physical places you have to care for. But yeah, it was in a way started with a war that we started to have it.
I see. And what was your name as you were like nomadic 2008, 2014? It was as well Khata-Maisternia, or you had a different
Svita,
name?
like, sorry, it was Inshal Svita is the very first thing which is still
Ah, okay,
existing.
in Sosvita. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. And now it's still existing, but as another like format space, or are the same people who work there, like you and your team who work also in Khata-Maisternia and Asortymentna Kimnata?
It's existing as an NGO working with some non-formal education, and basically now in Kiev, I'm in the office of Inshal Svita. I'm having.
Ah, okay. Okay.
Mhm.
And the exhibitions that you showed to us in this presentation, they took place in Asortimenta Kimnata, like for example, treating the soil, what does it mean when a dream of water, waterproof. They are all
Yeah,
showed in
yeah,
Asortimenta Kimnata in Ivano-Frankivsk.
yeah.
Okay.
All of these works, I just have to recollect. Yeah, all of these works were shown in Asortymentna Kimnata. Yeah, kurgans, like all of the photos are from Asortymentna Kimnata. Yes. Mhm.
Okay. And last question, and post impresa?
It's in Ivano.
Because you make so many things.
Yeah, it's like probably yeah, it's I know it's confusing. Like it's in Ivano-Frankivsk, it's a small room near Asortymentna Kimnata with a library, with books, and with people who write texts and who collect
Ah,
books and old catalogs, and yeah, who do.
okay.
Anya,
Looking
thank you.
forward to see it.
Yeah, yeah. Like we will be having Thomas soon. He will be coming to
Yes,
Ivano-Frankivsk
I'm
23.
coming.
And Anya, thank you so much because it's like Anya is sending us further recommendation also by Asa Bazdareva. Yeah, of course, like we just would have to look into her works because she would definitely have something on that. Thank you, Anya. On efflux.
I want to shortly mention the theater play that I recently saw from Kharkiv Theater Nafta. They performed it in Kiev, so I visited the play with the title Orgy of Keyboards and the play on ecocide. And they addressed, so it was a contemporary experimental theater which produce displays based on research on ecological disasters like due to war in Ukraine. And they also, I just now went to their description, what kind of sources they use. And they also say they worked with the Daria Cymbaluk and also some people, like some local people. Ivan Moiseyenko, for example, who is a biologist and activist. And so they collected materials and but this is not so many, like theory or something like this. It's more like, I think, people from practical field, like researchers who collect data or who worked on the ground. And so, but this is interesting how like theater can also use the research from other disciplines and then incorporate into the artwork, into the play. It was actually great.
Mm-hmm. And Dasha Chichishkova was doing scenography for this play and costumes.
It's beautiful, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
For reminding.
Mm-hmm. We were using some because after you, Oksana was there with textile workshop. Next weekend we had workshops of Dasha with teenagers, and we were also working with textile somehow. And Dasha brought rests from Kiborg Orgi, what she had left from costumes, and we were sewing from it with teenagers. So it was nice because she painted it also like in some particular colors, and we were doing like from the rest of these costumes something with teenagers in Ivano-Frankivsk. So this is how it's recycled, like everything is recycled. And Alisa, Dasha is here. Dasha, you can say, and Alisa has done a cool work about it. I will probably find it now very fast, like the work of Alisa from the rest of your costumes from.
Yes, I can send. Thank you, Ilona. Thank you, Oksana. Yes, it was wonderful work with Theater of Nafta in this performance theater show because it was totally like discovering with different people, maybe more in Kharkiv region and probably Izum. Now it's frontline town, city. And now the situation it's totally changed because we were there half a year ago, and we met with our friend soldier and artist Margarita Polavinka. She was alive. Now she is dead. She was killed. And now, maybe 1 month ago, my friend Ksusha Sherbakova, my partner, colleague, artist partner in different project, visited with volunteer mission Izum, and it's totally changed and different situation. It's when we visited it, this town was like with a lot of people and with coffee shops and with teenagers and hipsters and different kind of people. And now it's only old people and soldiers and maybe all streets and buildings. And for example, the house where lived Margarita is destroyed. And yes, and for me, it was a big pleasure and maybe my first свідомий, I forget this word.
Conscious.
But maybe my my first perspective when I totally deep discover ecological term and how war influence on our ground, on our life, on our ecosystems and ethic. And yes, thank you for mentioning it, Oksana. And yes, I think I told more about it who will in Italy, in Roma,
Actually, I
in
think
2 days.
if this play would be put in the text, it's interesting because it's even consists a critique of Donna Haraway, for example. So it's kind of
Yes.
in the like we
It's style of NAFTA. It's style of NAFTA probably. NAFTA, like Oksana mentioned and told, it's experimental self-organization theater. And now I'm working with Nina Hijna, one of the main artists and director and theater performance in this theater. And I'm working now like set designer too. But in theater show in Kiev, in Молодий Theater, which naming Місячні in Ukrainian, in English it's period. Yes?
yes.
It's period and it's about feminism, and for me it's like always continue different all this like very big and long conversation which just with different set designers and with different objects, but totally about maybe one problem. And we know it is this problem, but we need always to remember it and telling about again and again. Yes, and I love theater NAFTA because of it way of the work and way of discover and horizontal system. And yes, because now in Kiev theater it's another situation, but it's very interesting too because it's dosvit. I forget this too.
Experience. Mhm.
Experience. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Dasha. Yeah.
Thank you, Alona and Oksana. Thank you for this. Oksana, thank you for presentation. It was very interesting.
Unfortunately, I didn't have much time to make deeper research, so sorry that I cannot answer to some questions because it's not like my specialty, like the but it was interesting like to think through it, and I also thank you, Alona, for the invitation. And unfortunately, I should leave like in 4 minutes because I'm like in the space. I should leave the space. So thank you for having me, and it was great to meet you and to learn about your projects. And good luck with your residency and your work.
Thank you,
So,
Oksana. Thank you,
mhm.
Oksana. Thank you, everybody, for very attentive listening. There will be like recording. I will send it to people who were not the whole time here. Thank you. Have a nice evening. Stay safe. Thomas, we are waiting for you here in Ukraine. We'll see you. I hope you will also
Thank you
meet
very much.
Anya, who is now like turned on the camera, like like many more people too.
We started with Thomas Learn Ukrainian.
Yes, Dasha is my Ukrainian teacher.
It's
So
my
I will be
mission of
prepared.
this research.
Me and Anna Potemkina will be your like
Yes, continue, please.
destination.
Next level.
Like say, okay, we will check
Thank you
what.
all so much, and see some of you in Rome this weekend.
Yes. See you soon, Clara. See you tomorrow, actually.
See you tomorrow.
Yeah.
You.
Cool. Sophia, thank you for like we just opened the cameras. It's so nice. Marina, nice to see you. Oh, yeah. Bye. Bye. Have a nice evening. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Thank you again. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Do побачення.
Па-па.